Hey there. Well, let's do a simple project. So we got the red Beastman figure. If I need to figure out here. I like this figure a lot. It's based on his early main comic design and early card backs, and he's all red, but it's not very accurate. It seemed like it was just an excuse to get the Lords of Power Beastman figure mold parts reused, and it's great for getting those out to the public easier in the box set. So it's really good for that figure. It's a really nice figure, but it's not accurate, so let's make a more accurate one. So we'll be starting with this figure, obviously. We'll be using the heads, and we won't be using the forearms. Now, you could just leave them. They're fine, but they aren't accurate. So, you'd use Beastman forearms at first release Beastman, but I don't have very many of those figures stockpiled, but I do have a lot of Mini-Comic Stratos forearms. Got plenty of Mini-Comic Stratos, so might as well use those. Same mold, have to paint them red anyhow. And obviously, we'll be swapping the head out. And some other stuff. Swap out the armor and such. So let's just get going. Paint the arms. Well, first off, we have to sand the arms. Thankfully, the Beastman arm molds don't have as many rub spots, so it should be a much quicker sanding job than a lot. So I'll do that, then I'll show you the results. Alright, they've been sanded. Mostly you have to do inside the cuff to give extra room for the hand. We aren't painting hands this time, so it's not that bad. But the majority of the feature you have to worry about is the elbow joint, of course. Sanded in this side and here to hopefully prevent paint rub, and did most of my focus sanding in this area. This is going to be the majority rub region on almost all arms. So this one's not as bad as some. Didn't focus that much up here because there was really not that much rub. Fortunately, won't know for sure until we try it, but that should be a good starting point. Now, what's the other part we need to paint? We need to paint Beastman's head. Normally. Obviously, this is not our standard Beastman head. We won't be using this head in the final. It's a good head, but it's not your good default Beastman head. I'm not going to be using a Wave 1 Beastman head, which you easily can use. Just paint it red, match this, it'll work easily. What I'm going to be using, which I prepared earlier, and this is not something you can do at home that easily. You could, but I don't know if you want to. I made a resin cast of an original Beastman. I've cast it in dark red to match his body. So, we'll be painting that. Now, for what paints to use, for the resin cast, we will be using almost entirely Vallejo Model Colors. Has some Army Painters in there, but generally hobby paints. That's what we'll be using for that. But for the Master Universe plastic parts, as before, we'll be using the Folk Art Multi-Surface Paint. That sticks very well to the plastic. Not granite resin, so don't use it for resin, but it works really well on these. Alright, we'll get these painted up and then we'll get them assembled. head and arms are painted. They're currently drying from being sealed, so it's time to work on the armor. Could have done this earlier, but I was debating if I was going to try to use the new Eternia Beastman armor, because the armor has much more defined spikes, fitting the mini comic and carved back art of the early Red Beastman. But unfortunately, they don't quite work out, so we'll just be going with your standard Wave 1 normal Beastman armor here. Later release has a bigger blue pattern. For the most part, I think I'm just going to try to mix a matching red and paint over this versus trying to get the paint stripped off of this. And then just paint the emblem gold. Well, not gold, we're going to use yellow. So, we're going to go wash this up, just basically getting chemicals off it, and paint over this. Simple job. Right back. And we're done with painting. So, to paint the arms, which came out a bit too dark, but it's easy to adjust, we use the engine red as a base with a slight mix of pink melon and pure orange. Realistically, I probably went a little bit heavier on the orange or use some white to pale it a little bit, but this looks pretty decent. And for the armor, it was mostly the engine red with pure orange, a little bit of the coffee latte added at the very end to deepen it a little bit, and then add some white at the end. Once again, I could add a little bit more white, but you know, it works. And then the yellow is just simple moon yellow, nothing mixed. So let's assemble him. I haven't tested the arms yet, so we'll see the paint chips when I put them together. Hopefully not. Going to get the arms warm here and yank the forearms out. Have a mug of hot water off camera here. Can't do that on camera. But get that around. Also, I'm going to swap the feet out. I have some resin cast clawed toed feet to use instead of the socked feet to make it more accurate to the art. We're in a weird middle ground of art accuracy here because we don't have the sharp spikes in the shoulder pads, but they'll do. Alright, they should be warm by now. Let's see if I can yank them apart. Alright, there's one out. Over here. It's a bit darker as you can see. Let's see if I can get this in. That one's together. And let's see about this one. Of course, it moved, so now I'm burning my hand to pull it out. This one's fighting me. Ugh. There we go. That one's out. Plug the forearm in. Those are together. Yeah, it's not a bad match. It could be a little bit better. Like I said, a bit more orange, probably nicer, but it works. And then we will swap the hands over. The slight odd paint issue on the very edge of the cuff there. I'll have to address that, but not the end of the world. Could have just been dust got stuck on it before I sealed it. Oh, I did. I sprayed it with the Plaid matte sealer. You can get it at Walmart. It's probably my favorite. It turns a pretty decent job protecting things. It's not perfect, but does a good job. And looks like we have a good joint there. No paint rub. See if the other one's the same. Looks pretty good. And the hands in. So we'll swap out the feet now. Now, of course, you don't need to do all these special flares. You could just start with a Wave 1 Beastman and get a Lord of Power Beastman, swap parts. And honestly, if you don't have a box set Lords of Power Beastman from PowerCon, just the two Beastmen together, you could do a total part swap and make your own custom Lords of Power original Beastman with some more painting. That would be a pretty good idea. All right, the feet come off real easy. Just try to keep the boot cuff down area on. It's way easier to get feet off with them still on the body. And now while it's still warm, we'll put the new feet on. Get them. You gotta do this off camera. Once again, I'm sorry. I'll get a better setup someday. The feet are fighting me today. They've turned on me. Okay, the one's in. For some reason, the ankle joints just want to move on me today instead of going in. Guess he didn't back up. They're in. And see, got feet. So we will now assemble the figure. Admittedly, I could have painted this armor to be the same shade of red. I didn't feel like it. And actually, I find it easier to do this and then slide it over the arm. But it would be more accurate if you painted this the same red as the body, looking at the mini comic art, but it's worked close enough. It's not that big a difference. I'm fine with it. So it might not be. If you want to, go for it. Oh, upside down. And there's the armor on. I said it'd be nice if we get the sharper armor, but this works just fine. Slap this on. We gotta feed it through here. It's in, and then the final head is on. And like that, we have an original mini comic Red Beastman, or cardback Beastman, whatever you want to call him, Beastman, the Red Beastman. I decided to paint the pupils a little bit smaller in a Vanish toy to sort of match the art a bit better. I cleaned it up since you saw it originally. It's not easy to paint details with the camera in my face, but I think it came out pretty decently. It's a very simple custom. It took some decent work, but once you have all the parts, it's not that hard. So, hey, thanks for watching. Hope it was somewhat entertaining. I still don't know what I'm doing. Thanks for coming. And it's out of focus. Beastman focus. Now we'll get some pictures. There we go, Beastman focus. Hey, Beastman.